الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان.
Assalamu alaikum, my friends. Welcome back to another episode, one of the final episodes of Revelation Kids. Tonight we're doing Qur'an year 23, the farewell Hajj. And tonight's line is, to become the hero the world needs you to be. To become the hero the world needs you to be. That's the last line in the poem that we've been writing, all 23 episodes. This is the last line. This is the last year. 23 years. Remember, we started way back in Qur'an year 1 when the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, was just trying to get space away from the noise and the disruption of Mecca, and he would go up into the mountains, into the cave of Hira. Well, now here we are. It's the year 632, and the Prophet, peace upon him, is roughly 63 years old. Something has shifted. Those closest to him can feel it. A quietness, a tenderness that feels different from something before. During Ramadan of this year, the Prophet, peace upon him, stays in the masjid. He stays there not for the usual 10 days of the retreat. He stays for 20. Twice as long as previous years, because Jibreel Islam was finalizing the completion of the Qur'an with the Prophet, not once, but twice. When the month of Dhul Hijjah arrives, the Prophet, peace upon him, makes an announcement. He will lead the Hajj pilgrimage, his first. It's his first Hajj pilgrimage, and the word spreads across Arabia like fire. 30,000 people join him. 30,000 pilgrims. Think about that for a moment. A man who once sat alone in a cave, unknown to the world, now walks towards Mecca, surrounded by 30,000 souls who love him, who love the Messenger, who love Allah. See, this is what legacy looks like, what you build in others that outlives you. The Prophet conducts the rites of the Hajj pilgrimage in the exact same way that his forefather Ibrahim ﷺ had done hundreds, thousands of years ago. He does the tawaf, which is going around the Kaaba, and the sa'i, running from the hills of Safa to Marwa. And at Arafah, the vast plain outside of Mecca, where pilgrims gather at the very heart of the Hajj experience. The Prophet, peace upon him, he climbs up a hill called the Mount of Mercy. Below him, a sea of people stretch out as far as the eye can see, all in white garments, faces turned upwards, looking at him, waiting. The Prophet, peace upon him, begins to speak. He speaks about justice, about the rights of women, about the blood and wealth of every believer being sacred, about how no Arab is better than a non-Arab, and how no non-Arab is better than an Arab. The only thing that changes people's ranks in Allah's eyes is their righteousness. His voice carries across that vast plain, and 30,000 people are completely still, listening to every word of his message. And then, as if Allah had been waiting for this exact moment, because He is the planner and the arranger, new words come down, new revelation comes to the Prophet, peace upon him, which he shares with the world.
اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا.
This day I have perfected your way of life for you, completed my favor upon you, and have chosen for you Islam as your way of life. Did you hear that? Allah is saying, after 23 years of revelation, after all the struggle, the heartache, the challenges, the success, we have finally achieved completion. And everything that the Prophet has done, all of his actions and all the revelation he has been sent with, it is now being finalized in the Qur'an on this day. This day, Allah's favor is complete. And He has chosen our religion for us, and He calls this religion the same religion as Ibrahim, the same religion as Adam, the same religion as all the great prophets. This religion is called Al-Islam, which means surrendering to Allah. The Prophet looks out at the thousands below him and asks, "Have I delivered the message?" In unison, 30,000 voices answer as one. "Yes," they say. And then the Prophet, peace upon him, raises his finger to the sky and he tells Allah, "Oh Allah, bear witness." The Prophet was showing the world and showing Allah that he delivered exactly what Allah had entrusted him to deliver the message of Islam, the gift of how to live a life of no fear and no grief. He delivered it to the world. A few weeks after the Hajj pilgrimage, the Prophet, peace upon him, returned back to Medina. When he returned, some things began to change. He began to experience headaches and then a fever. The Prophet continued to lead the prayers as he wasn't feeling well, but those close to him could see that each day costs more than the last for him. As the days passed, the Prophet grew too weak to lead the prayer standing, so he prayed seated, and then at one point he tells Aisha to make sure that her father leads the congregation. Aisha protested. She was gentle, she was tender, but she said, "Her father, he weeps too much. Abu Bakr is just too moved by the Qur'an when he recites it. There's no way he can lead the prayer. Why not Omar? Have Omar lead the prayer." But the Prophet, peace upon him, shook his head. "No, Abu Bakr must lead," he said. "But why not Omar?" "Abu Bakr must lead the prayer." The next day, the Prophet, peace upon him, does something unexpected. He rises. Weak as he is, he makes his way to the masjid. The congregation is already deep in the prayer. He steps inside, and Abu Bakr, sensing his presence, moves to give way. But the Prophet, peace upon him, gestures for him to stay, and he takes his place beside him. He prays with his community one last time. Afterwards, he returns to Aisha's room. He rests his head in her lap, and there he begins to whisper a verse from the Qur'an. "Whoever obeys Allah and the Messenger will be with those who have the favor of Allah upon them, the prophets, the truthful, the witnesses, and the righteous." What a beautiful fellowship. His voice grows quieter. Then, barely a breath, his last words, "O Allah, with the ultimate joining." The Prophet was 63 years old. Take a moment with that. There's no rush here. The Prophet, peace upon him, breathed his last breath. Outside, the news moves through Medina like a wave. People stop where they stand. Omar, fierce, unbreakable Omar, he can't accept it. He stands before the people and announces that the Prophet has not died, that he has only departed in spirit, and he will return. He must return. His voice is shaking. The community is falling apart. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to believe. They can't believe that the Prophet is gone. But then Abu Bakr hears the news and quickly arrives. He goes to Aisha's room first. He sees the Prophet's body. He kneels. He kisses his forehead. Then he walks outside to face the crowd. Umar is still speaking, telling everyone that the Prophet cannot have died. Abu Bakr waits, and then, steadily, he tells Umar to be quiet, and then he says, "Whoever worshipped Muhammad, Muhammad is dead. But whoever worships Allah, he is ever living, and he never dies." These are words from the Qur'an, words that land like something solid in a shaking world. Umar stops, his legs give way beneath him, and he later said, "By Allah, as soon as I heard Abu Bakr say it, I fell to the ground. Only then did I realize that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had really died." Think about Abu Bakr in that moment, not on a battlefield, not in a palace, but standing in front of a grieving, terrified community, and being the one person steady enough to say the true thing when it needed to be said the most. See, Abu Bakr had courage, the willingness to say the hard, true thing when no one else could come to it, when no one else could see the truth. At first, you might not believe. That's where our poem began. Do you remember that? With the Prophet, peace upon him, in the cave of Hira getting the first revelation. And I told you way back then, at first you might not believe. Remember, that's where our poem began 23 years ago. 23 years ago, in a cave with a man trembling. He wasn't sure if he was ready to lead the mission. And here we are at the end, at the very end, and Abu Bakr stood up and he believed when the whole world was falling down. He became the hero the community needed him to be. This is Qur'an year 23, the year that everything was completed, the year the message was delivered, that the mission was fulfilled. To become the hero the world needs you to be. This was the year that the Prophet, peace upon him, finished his mission and that Abu Bakr carried the message forward. This was always the point, not just for the Prophet, not just for Abu Bakr and Khadija and Bilal and Fatima and all the people who said yes when everything was hard. They did all of this for you guys. They did it for me. Allah's name is An-Nur, the light. It is one of his most beautiful names because he is a source of all light. It's a light that never goes out. The Prophet carried Allah's light into the world, and he passed it to his companions, and they passed it forward to their children and their children, finally to the point where we are passing this on to you. And now 23 years later, after the Prophet, peace upon him, started his mission, 1400 years later, since this all began, this light, this nur, it has arrived here today. It's in this room. It's in this story. And guess what, guys? It's in you. The Prophet knew with certainty that the light of Allah will never go out, no matter how dark things get. The Prophet's journey was complete in Qur'an year 23. But the most important chapter of this story has not been told yet. It's the story of a boy. A child who lost everything before he was old enough to understand it, who sat alone on a hillside with sheep and looked at the sky and probably wondered about his father, probably wondered about his mother. He was probably wondering what all this was for. That chapter is next, in the final episode of Revelation Kids. It's the most important chapter in this entire story, and so I ask you to stay tuned for that final message, the final audio chapter of this series, where we'll talk about what it means to be the hero. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's a tough episode to talk about the death of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him. It's tough for me to record this episode, believe me, because the Prophet was a source of so much love in all of our lives. But we have something really important to talk about in the next episode, and I hope you guys will join me for this in the final episode of Revelation Kids. I really thank you all for being a part of this. I can't wait to see you guys in the next episode, inshallah. I'll see you guys soon. Assalamu alaikum.
إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون أولئك أصحاب الجنة خالدين فيها جزاء بما كانوا يعملون.